Good morning. Today is February 25th, and you're listening to the greatest love story taken from Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 3, where God said, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. If you have members within your household, would you please invite them to join with us? And while you're doing that, we'll be sharing a few updates. Next Sunday, we're going to continue our study of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and then the following Sunday is going to be a gospel song, and it's an old traditional gospel song as we do from time to time, and it is going to take a look at the background, and I promise you, you're going to be very surprised and very shocked. It is a gospel song that we sing in Vacation Bible School, and we also sing in regular worship. So this is a very, very important song that I would like to share with you. And then as we go forward, there is a particular format of a program that I would like to share with you. And this format is perhaps something that you've never heard before. And I will drop some hints here and there, but as I've mentioned before, I do want to dedicate this to Mom and to Dad, and also to my Uncle Iris Bonner Benson, and then to one of my Sunday school teachers. And so occasionally I will be dropping some hints, but I've done this before when I was a preacher at over in Columbus, and so I want to share this with you. And maybe we'll be doing this from time to time, but I'm looking very much forward to this. Now, I would also like to mention that I would like to thank each and every one of you for your loving prayers on the behalf of one of my very closest and dearest friends, Jimmy Sims. And Jimmy had knee replacement surgery on one leg, and then he had it done on the other, and now he is back at work. But please continue to remember him in prayer, that there's not going to be any complications, but that he will fully recover. And then we have a new family of listeners today that I spoke with this week, and their names are Ray and Sarah. And then also they have two children that are just so precious, Elijah and Abraham. And I thought how fitting it was that today's program is going to be about Abraham and Sarah. And really, part of what I want to do is to focus very much on Sarah. Now, the scripture of the week is found in Philippians, the 4th chapter, and verses 6 and 7. Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. And so we can have that peace that passeth all understanding. And it doesn't matter that there are things that may be going wrong or we think are going wrong in our lives. We can still maintain that peace, knowing that the Godhead three is with us. And if God be for us, who can be against us? And so we have that joy and the hope of eternal salvation in Jesus Christ. Now, I would like to start the program this morning by talking a little bit about Sarah, and she's really going to be the focus of today's program, although we'll be talking about Abraham as well. Now, Sarah was 65 years of age when she and Abraham left their father's house, and they were both half-sister and husband and wife. And so Abraham was 100 years of age, and as I mentioned, Sarah was 65 years of age, and really past the age of childbearing years. But anyway, Sarah was one that was very strong. She was very brave, and she endured a lot of travel. And so the name Sarah means in the Hebrew, princess. And Sarah was a very, very beautiful woman. Now, as time went on, God had promised Abraham that he would have a son, but Abraham began laughing because of his age and the age of Sarah. but God did not chastise him. At least it's not recorded. But anyway, as you go further into the scriptures, we find that Sarah gave Hagar to be Abraham's wife, and so out of that union came Ishmael. Now, Ishmael was not to be considered as part of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, but God nevertheless took very good care of him. And when Hagar had Ishmael, she looked upon Sarah and she despised her. And so they got into a quarrel. And as you recall, Hagar and Ishmael left. And so as they had gone on their way, an angel of the Lord came up to them and struck up a conversation. He convinced her to go back to Sarah to be her handmaiden. And so she did listen to her, and she went back and stayed for several more years. And so we'll get into that in just a moment. Well, then God is talking to Abraham, and he mentions again about giving him a son. And this time Sarah overheard it, and she started laughing. And so God confronted her, and she said, "Oh, I didn't laugh." And then the Lord said, "Oh, but thou didst laugh." And so naturally, they did have a son. God lived up to his promises as he always does. And so they had a son, and they named him Isaac. Now, the name Isaac in the Hebrew means laughter. And so he brought a lot of joy into their lives. And he is one of the people that is in the genealogy of Jesus Christ, which we'll speak about in just a moment. But when Sarah died at the age of 127, Abraham, of course, mourned for her death. And so then he was looking for a place to bury her. And so he buried her in Hebron, which is in the land of Canaan. And so what he did is he spoke to the sons of Heth, and they recognized him as a man of God, and they wanted to give him a cave and not charge him anything, but rather for him to be able to bury Sarah. And so then Abraham spoke to Ephron, and Ephron was the same way. He wanted to just give the land and the cave to Abraham, but Abraham wanted to pay his own way. And so he asked Ephron how much that the land and the cave was worth. And so Ephron indicated that it was worth 400 shekels of silver. Now, to give you an idea of how much a shekel is, that is about a half an ounce. And by today's standards, that is $25 an ounce. And when you do the multiplication, it would have been about $5,000. And so Abraham, he had something to weigh out the silver, and so he paid Ephron, and so he was able to secure the cave and also the land that was surrounding and the trees. And Abraham wanted to make it such a special place to bury his wife Sarah, and he had been weeping over her death. He had been mourning her loss, but he did bury her in Hebron in the land of Canaan. Now, one of the things I would like to share with you is this, is that you are very important to God. As we notice in the scriptures, Abraham and Sarah were in the genealogy of Jesus Christ, and Sarah played a very integral part in this. And so I want to focus on both Abraham and Sarah. And so they were in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. And so whenever we take a look at the genealogy of Jesus Christ, it was a straight line both from his earthly father Joseph and from his biological mother Mary. And it goes all the way down. It is a straight line. It is not like an 18th cousin twice removed, but rather a straight line. And the blood that Jesus shed on the cross of Calvary was pure, innocent blood. It was not diluted. And so Jesus went through the torture, the brutality, and then the ultimate death on the cross, that you and I might have life eternal. And so God knew you before the foundation of the world. And before we get to that, he knew Jeremiah, and he indicated, before thou was created, I knew thee. And then he also sanctified him to be a prophet unto the nations while he was still in the womb of his mother. And so then, as we take a look at the scriptures in Ephesians, the first chapter and verse 4, it indicates, according as God hath chosen us, and that it also indicates that he has chosen us, that we are to be in him, and it was before the foundation of the world, and that it is something that we should hold dear to our hearts, and that we should be holy and without blame. And so, according to the scriptures, God had chosen us before the foundation of the world. And so God knew that you were going to be born. He knew the abilities and talents that you have, but bear in mind that you are a free moral agent. You can choose to serve God, or you can choose to serve the devil. It is something that you must make a decision, but God has chosen you. And to me, that is something very, very special, is that word or that phrase, that he has chosen you. You are very important to God. You have so much abilities and talents within you, and you're to use those abilities and talents in his service. And I want to be found faithful in serving God and serving in his vineyard whenever God takes me, or at the second coming of Jesus Christ, whichever comes first. And so let us always put the Godhead three first and foremost in our lives, that heaven one day will be our eternal home. And so in closing, I want to thank each and every one of you for letting me be a part of your home today, and to share this day with you. It means so much to me. And I do hear a lot of people that are giving such great feedback, and please know that I love you, and I'm very much aware of those who are listening. And so thank you so very much. And as we are going to close out the lesson today, please bear in mind that we're going to have a format. And as I mentioned, it is going to honor Mom and Dad, and also my Uncle Iris Benson, and one of my Sunday school class teachers. And I want us to be really building this one up, because it is a format. It's going to be a program that I venture to say that you've never heard before in your entire life, but it is something that I want to share with you. And as always, I want to thank Deborah and Randall. They do such a fantastic job, not only on Sundays, but throughout the entire week. And so I encourage you to listen to them as they give very important updates, and as they bring the very finest in radio programming. So till next Sunday, take care, and God bless.